Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is March 26th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 86. Today we're going to be talking about UPenn identity stolen in weeks, Baltimore bridge cost, WWDC announced, smuggling graphics cards in your pants, a whale of an ID, when old meets new technology. It's not what you think. What is beer to you? Dark roof, higher bill. What things look like in a CT scan? And filming how to sneak onto a plane. That and more. I am Mayor Watt, and up there is the sentient AI's visualizer. You want to say, what's up? No, I won't finish that. Go ahead.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. The AI is here to drink your blood. Sorry, I've had too much caffeine. Hey, I've already got it all set up, so why don't we just do a show? No preamble, no snarky little repartee in front of all of the news. Get rid of this noise. Just get into the news. The noise comes after I introduce everything. Ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. First article is over in ohmTown Daily. A UPenn student started a YouTube channel, and in weeks, her face was stolen on China's social media. You know, I couldn't pay for better marketing. You know, if I launched a YouTube channel and I could sit there and flex about how my identity was stolen, not my identity, my face was stolen on China's social media. You know how much attention is this meta marketing? This is meta marketing, right? Olga Loic. I'm just going to say Loic. A college student with a YouTube channel says she's being used for deepfakes in China. She's not the only one. Multiple Caucasian women feature in pro-Russia deepfakes on China's internet. Experts say it's far easier for deepfakes of Western women to go unnoticed on China's isolated web. Well, I guess it's okay.
Well, I mean, they don't even have access to it. They don't even realize it's happening.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Olga Loic was barely awake one midwinter morning when she read a cryptic Instagram message. Do you speak any Mandarin? It read in English. Blake had received similar messages in weeks prior from self-professed fans. Yikes.
Yeah, that's not good. You'd be like, what is this about?
Yeah. See, this is the thing that I tell people that because I talk about personally identifiable information and don't overexpose yourself on the internet, because while you know that they know you, but you don't know them. Whoever they are. But a lot of people make tons of money hoping that their anonymity remains beyond arm's length, so that they're not ever impacted by the various people that might be out there. People. So this Business Insider article was written by Matthew Lowe. And let's see here. Experts say it's far easier for deepfakes of Western women to go unnoticed on China's isolated web. Or I should say insulated too. It's all protected
That's
from
true.
Outsiders. Because apparently a Western woman's face isn't a cultural contaminant in the ideological bend towards whatever the CCP wants. Yeah, but that's why the Great Chinese Firewall actually exists, is to stop cultural contamination. I don't know. I guess people are okay with it. Because it's been there. And just do a search for. Oh,
I don't
never
think
mind.
people pay attention to it outside of China.
Well, yeah, they don't pay attention inside China either. I mean, maybe they do. I don't
Oh,
know. But I really don't know. Anyway, the message included a link to a video on Xiaohongshu, a social media platform rapidly gaining steam in China. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that there was another one. The clip appeared to show Loic speaking to the camera in Chinese as photos of the Kremlin and Russian leader Vladimir Putin jumped on screen. At first, quote, at first I felt like, oh, it's just a funny trick, but then I started translating it, and it was basically speaking glowingly of Sino-Russian ties and bemoaning sanctions on Moscow. Yeah, that's kind of twisted. It should be illegal, but one country doesn't give one iota what another country does, apparently, unless there is money to be made or a barrier to be fabricated so that nobody can either contaminate or take advantage of. For instance, if you have any IP rights in the United States, you have to file to extend them into the EU. And that does not stop anybody from other countries taking your IP, your idea that you have all of this goodwill for, and developing a product and using your mark, and only through brute force really can you stop it, which is a whole lot of legal actions telling Amazon, for instance, hey, this is defrauding people because it's my product, I created it. Yeah.
do you think this person was targeted because of their ties?
How do you mean?
Well, this particular person is Ukrainian,
Right.
and they used it to speak about pro-Russian views.
Oh, but it's only if this information doesn't translate into the Chinese social ecosystem, right? Because they're speaking in support of Ukraine, taking her identity and using it to be pro Sino-Russian, the antithesis of being pro
Right, that's what I'm
Ukraine.
saying. I don't think she was selected at random.
I mean, it's interesting, but why would they grab somebody that's pro-Ukraine to deepfake into being pro-Russian? I
I don't
guess you
know. I
could
just
poison
found
the
it
well.
odd because there's a lot of people in the world, whether regardless of their views on any of this, that aren't holding up a sign in support of Ukraine that don't get targeted.
Right. Interesting, right? On these Chinese platforms, deepfakes of non-Chinese women can often go undetected since viewers may not easily recognize the original person. Meanwhile, the creator is less likely to discover their face has been stolen because they, in turn, do not typically access the Chinese platforms where the theft is happening. Yeah. Liu and another AI researcher, Haibing Liu of Santa Clara University, told Business Insider that over the last 6 months they've observed what they suspect are other deepfakes of women on Chinese platforms like Douyin, China's version of TikTok. Yeah, pretty fascinating. Oh wow, geez. The account that ran deepfakes of Lo was described on Xiaohongshu as Natasha, a 31-year-old Russian woman who lives in China's Heilongjiang province, and the account had 140,000 followers. All right. Wow. Yeah, this is rough. This is an article that definitely needs to be couched in Reality Hacker.
I agree. I didn't know it when it was first submitted for the daily.
Yeah, this deserves a deeper dive and a greater discussion. Business Insider put together this in their standard way, which is a block of text with all kinds of information jam-packed in there, and then a picture that just blows your mind. Either it could be real estate or a product or whatever, and this is definitely something that you're like, wow, this is actually happening. Yeah, Olga Loik speaks in a Russian short on her channel, and then on the right is a deep fake of her telling Chinese viewers to buy Russian candies. And it looks like it's in higher resolution.
It's all for marketing, right? But it's not. It's like a mix of other things in marketing.
Well, it's not just marketing, but it's marketing. It is marketing, but it's also social manipulation. Right? Don't just buy candies, buy Russian candies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not sitting there saying, go buy American candies. Because you can't. Anyway. Yeah. The Shai Hong Shu deep fakes of other YouTubers do the same. The perpetrators seem to target female creators who upload easily accessible content of themselves, but aren't major celebrities. Wow. And it just goes on and on.
Very interesting. If you're online, you have some chance of getting your content stolen, etc. But this is a whole new level.
Wow. The videos are still out. The Loik shut down the Natasha account, but new accounts purporting to be her surface occasionally. One account that once used her face as a profile picture started uploading videos of cats. It's twisted. But again, there are children that are capable of doing deepfakes now because it's so easily approachable. So, and making it harder isn't going to stop anybody except for the lowest hanging fruit. Anyway, let's keep on going. You can follow the link to this article, in the VOD, in the show notes. You'll be able to follow the link. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily as well. Baltimore bridge collapse could cost $9 million a day. This is actually something that happened this morning. A major bridge, Francis Scott Key Bridge, was hit by a container ship. This bridge is close to 50 years old. But was hit by a modern container ship of 95,000 tons or something like that. So all it did was pop this thing and it collapsed like a broken erector set. And it says the pause in shipping to the port of Baltimore as a result of the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge could have enormous implications for the economy. People, obviously the shipping companies are rerouting around it, but there's debris in the water and they're going to have to do an analysis and a debrief of what happened. I've heard things that there was a failure of the drivetrain of the ship, and they couldn't steer. Everybody basically just prepared for the worst. And
there was a Mayday signal, and they actually stopped people from going onto the bridge, which was good.
Oh, so it was even... Oh, okay, it was bigger.
It was known, but not very far beforehand, but they did minimize some of the casualties.
Wow, fascinating. And I was amazed that out of all of the space there...
Exactly, it's like this large open river, right? There's nothing out there. Yeah. And then it ran into the bridge.
Pops this one thing. Wait,
I've seen several articles already in ohmTown today, but one says like Amazon is assessing the damage, like major companies in auto industry, etc., are looking at it. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going to be impacted by this.
Yeah, so I did some rough calculations, and by rough I mean simple math here. So they talk about it being $9 million a day of supply chain delays. But here's the big problem here. And this is just getting into the port, okay? Not the cross traffic costs. But this bridge cost $60 million to be built in 1977. So imagine how much it's going to cost now. I estimate that it'll be probably it took 5 years to build and $60 million in 1977. From 1972 to to 1977. How long do you think it's going to take to use modern building code for this construction?
15 years.
And that's what I say. It's going to take at least 10 years. It's going to cost at least $750 million. Or they're going to kind of skimp out on the build, and they're going to do like a drawbridge where it's going to have to open up and close periodically. It's going to be closer to the surface of the water because higher up means more costs. And it's going to hobble that industry right there, because it used to be free flowing, and obviously either they do it again at a cost of almost $1 billion, or they change the dynamic. Well, money talks. It says in 1922 it was ranked 6th in coffee imports, around 120,000 tons valued at nearly $610 million. 847,000 vehicles came through that port last year, according to Maryland state data. It ranked first in the nation for import and export of autos. Automobile industry is already moving around it.
Yeah, they're gonna have to start using completely different ports. Like it is really such a, and that's just the shipping, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
that's not even the automotive, or that's
Yeah.
not even the vehicle traffic on the highway.
Yeah, the ground traffic that went over it. So yeah, I'm thinking that this thing is going to be wildly expensive. So the halt in shipping to and from the port may lead to losses of close to $9 million a day that it's shut down. So they're going to have to remove this stuff as soon as humanly possible, the erector set that's sitting in the water, and then just flag the foundations of the pillars so that the boats can go through. But other than that, this bridge is out. I'd say it's going to be 10 years for them to plan the damn thing, and then 10 years for it to be built. Yeah, because there's going to be all kinds of stakeholders interested in, putting their spoon in the gumbo. So we'll see if something actually tasteful comes out. It's going to be a major disruption for a lot of supply chains on the East Coast, specifically the automobile industry. Patrick Penfield, a professor of supply chain practice at Syracuse University, told Newsweek. A lot of Midwest manufacturing companies utilize that port to ship in and out. Yeah, that's kind of no shit news, but just the statement to the name. Anyway, pretty brutal. There's more over at this article, but oh, look, they even say at the very end. I didn't know that they were going to say that. So it was actually started to be built in 1972 and began operation 1977 at a cost of $60 million. To me,
That's a large cost at that time.
If I calculate right, it's somewhere around 350 or 280 or something like that $million in today's dollars. But if you look at it, it's just this erector set of bolted and welded metal with this thing. This ship, this container ship, just popped this one thing and the whole thing buckled. It would never survive today. Like if this had to be built like this.
They can't build it the same way, right? Like the building codes have changed.
Yep. And awareness. You just can't build it like that. And then just the chance of this, another container ship of modern size popping that one little post in the water. That's all it took. And that one pier into the water, all it took was dink and the whole thing collapsed. Now it had a lot of kinetic weight though. So a lot of kinetic energy was imparted in that one. I mean, it's still grounded on there as far as I know.
Yeah. It is. I think that picture shows what it looks like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And now another ship is going to have to come over here and pull all of these containers off. Oh gosh, this thing, a recovery nightmare. Okay, let's keep going. The next, oh, wait. Okay. This next article is over in Reality Hacker. Apple just announced dates for WWDC 2024. Let me go back and grab that article, the link through ohmTown. There you go. So Apple just announced the dates for WWDC. It's the Worldwide Developers Conference. And the article is over at digitaltrends.com. Christine Romero Chan put the article together. And it's going to be June 10th through June 14th, 2024. And a special event will be held at Apple Park in Cupertino, California at the, I always joke, call it a UFO or a donut. Anyway, they expect iOS 18, iPad OS 18, watchOS 11, tvOS 18, macOS 15, Vision OS 2 for all of you who have Vision Pros. Who knows what hardware might get highlighted or announced. That Steve Jobs one more thing kind of a thing. But it is for developers. I don't know. Maybe Mayor Watt will.
Do you think it's expanded? I mean, do you have to have certain credentials to get in, or you just have to buy tickets?
I don't know how many. I don't know how many will be allowed to attend, but yeah, you just buy tickets and go. Let's see. Oh, now it says for a chance to attend, you'll have to do the lottery system. So not everybody is allowed to go. Everybody can watch it online, though. Developers can online. And to be a developer for Apple, even if you don't write a lick of code, they don't really audit you. It's like $99 a year. I've never gone.
Oh, okay.
But I am part of their developer network, so. But I have actually had apps in the App Store. I just stopped developing them. I really should. I should modernize the two that are in there right now. And I've been working on a third one, but anyway, that's not here. Let's keep working. Doink. Did I not put that article? Oh my gosh. You know what? I do the transition and then I back up. Okay, well, the next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. Man tries to smuggle 7-year-old AMD graphics cards through Chinese airport customs, all 44 of them. By the way, when I read this, at the beginning, I was kind of sickened to my stomach, and then I said, oh, AMD graphics cards.
The same way, like I read it, and I wish they'd rearranged the heading somehow because it gave a completely different connotation.
Yeah, man tries to smuggle AMD graphics cards through Chinese airport customs. You would lose that whole thing there, and then people would go, oh, what were they smuggling? You might as well say, nobody cares about 7-year-old, other than the fact that it's, oh my God, somebody is trying to smuggle 7-year-old AMD.
Well, that's I think it is part of the takeaway. Like, what is this about?
Yeah, so it says with the U.S. ramping up bans on sending high-performance PC parts to China, and China now returning the favor, you'd think there would be a degree of interest in smuggling high-end PC parts into the country. This is not that. This is the case of a smuggler trying to move 44 AMD Radeon RX 580 graphics cards right under everyone's noses. The smuggler's plan? Walk right out the front door of the airport with boxes full of GPUs. That's right. Walk right on through, nothing to declare, with an innocent smile on their face, and hope Chinese customs won't notice. Oh, believe me, they notice. Jacob Ridley over at PCGamer.com put the article together. The deck statement says the RX 580 wasn't even all that expensive new. God, that is just horrible. What kind of a crime do you think, what kind of punishment for this crime is going to happen,
Well, depending on the location, like in the US, I think it'd be not very significant, but is this going to be prosecuted here or in China?
Oh, it's China because it was caught in China.
I mean, that could be like you're going to jail for a long time.
Yeah. And so these cards aren't ideal for anything, not gaming, not AI, not anything. I think it probably has the combined working power of a 4090, like it might. I think it intimates that in the article. Getting just one RTX 4090 could be a very worthwhile trip for a smuggler these days, however. That card's price has reportedly skyrocketed since the US has halted Nvidia from selling any more in the country as part of a wider ban on powerful data center GPUs. Gee, could it be because they're using deepfakes? Anyway. And we've heard about this before. Other people trying to smuggle CPUs and SSDs and other things. Wow, 200 CPUs and 9 iPhones in her prosthetic baby bump. Why are you in jail?
I mean, just the level that people are going to.
Yeah. Pretty wild. And you know that they're being told by somebody, go do this. You know, they wouldn't do it on their own. Some would.
Exactly.
Some would if they're the mastermind of this. But maybe that's why they got caught.
Yeah, I think most of these individuals are not the ones that are the ringleaders.
Gotcha. Let's keep going. Before I go this time, I'm going to throw this into the chat. You know, I started out really on the right track. So the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Acoustic tagging is like caller ID for whales. Yeah. So they've used a new method of simultaneous acoustic tagging to gain insights into the link between whale communication and behavior. For researchers studying the acoustic behavior of whales, distinguishing which animal is vocalizing is like a teacher trying to figure out which student responded first when the entire class is calling out the answer.
That's pretty funny. They're like, is that Steve? Or is that...
What
when they're studying it.
What school has a bunch of students screaming out the answer?
TV.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's right. It might be in the script. Maybe if there was a $5 million cash prize at the end of the semester, Mr. Beast.
Right, exactly. Like, but not normally.
Go teach a class, Mr. Beast. Not in marketing either. So never mind. So this is because many of the techniques used to capture audio record a large sample size of sounds and a large range of sounds. A major example of this is passive acoustic monitoring, or PAM. PAM, always in the mix there. Which records audio via a microphone in one location, usually a stationary or moving platform in the ocean. So Futurity.org is the source of this. Dan Bernardi, I think, or is it? Yeah, they have a weird kerning thing here. It's like the spaces.
Oh yeah.
Is it Dan Bernard the first, or is it Dan Bernard? It's Dan Bernardi because that's what the URL says. Anyway, they're from Syracuse University. So I guess they're tagging a suction cup sound and movement tag being deployed on the back of a humpback whale in Massachusetts. So they can listen to them directly and know where they are, so they know exactly what the whales are doing and saying while they're swimming around. It's pretty cool that they actually just cut out the middleman and put an air tag right on them. Over the last 20 years, the invention of acoustic tags equipped with movement and audio sensors, which are suctioned harmlessly to the animal being studied, has tremendously improved data collection capabilities. How does a suction cup work that well on them?
It doesn't seem like it would stick.
Right? Or that it would flex enough that it would pop. You know, it would kind of go. And I mean, everybody has experienced that, where they've got some little pump at the bottom of a pool or a fountain or a fish tank, and the thing detaches and just kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, by simultaneously tagging all of the whales in a group, we were able to compare how loudly calls were recorded across tags to infer who was calling. This in turn lets us look at individual and group level communication in ways that we couldn't before. Okay, now do it with cats. There has to be something, sub 20 hertz that cats emit.
Oh, most definitely.
This information can give us insight into how whales coordinate behaviors, how their calls relate to what they're doing, what types of calls they use, and what information they might exchange in group communication. This is a really neat, this article has really neat timing, by the way, because I've been fascinated by a technique that researchers found whales using to pull seals off of ice floes. And what they do is they actually work together. They build like a wall of whale, and then they swim towards the ice floe, and a wake behind them builds, and it dips the ice floe down into the well of the wake, and then one wave hits it, and another wave takes all of the seals off the ice floe, and then nature.
Right.
But they had never witnessed it before, but with drone technology and stuff, they were able to record this, and they just do it again and again until either the ice breaks up or they get washed off into the water. And if they're not fast enough, then they become lunch. But it's really fascinating. Now maybe they'll be able to tag these pods and see if there's communication that goes on between them to coordinate that action. And then they know what that language is saying. Wouldn't that be fascinating?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, oh my gosh. Because this has the potential to lead to the possibility that whales are sentient, that they know what they're doing, that they communicate, that they share the well-being of others within their pod, or countless other things. Maybe we can translate like a Rosetta Stone, figure out what it is, the beeps and whistles that they make.
Right.
Up next would be dolphins, right? It's pretty amazing. Well, go ahead.
Pretty soon we'll have like translators for animals.
I don't know if I want my cat actually walking up to me and doing anything other than meowing. Walks up and goes.
Right, you might not want to hear what it says.
Yeah, really. Hey, Merwat. Saw what you were doing. Can't say I approve. Go scoop my poo. Next article's over in ohmTown Daily. The Baltimore bridge disaster is what happens when 95,000 tons of modern cargo ship meets America's aging infrastructure. This was my immediate observation when I saw the video of the impact of this massive container ship. Baltimore's largest bridge collapsed after a cargo vessel, the Dolly, crashed into it. Experts told Business Insider that a mechanical failure aboard the ship could have caused the crash, and the bridge was never built with modern container ships in mind, or modern construction in mind. It's nearly 50 years old. Not even 50-year-olds are modern construction. Sorry, that was a funny joke in my head. The destruction of Baltimore's largest bridge early Tuesday morning has raised major questions about how such a disaster could have happened. One mechanical failure, and it just having, it's so, it makes you feel like something was deliberate, right? If you have a conspiracy, a conspiratorial
mind. Well, that was
mind.
another article, right? Like all the theories floating around. But
yeah. I mean, of all the things to hit, it could have gone 15 feet one way or the other and never have hit anything.
It might have run aground or something, but that would have been a lot better than this.
Oh, yeah, a lot better. So, Marianne Guineau and Maya Jankowicz put the article together over at businessinsider.com. They've got another picture of this container ship that's stacked to the brim Um, yeah, I think like the control tower for this thing is over here, or is it in front? Because I thought I told somebody earlier today that it was actually in the back, but it has containers all the way. Maybe that
Right.
blue
Yeah, I don't
tower
know.
is, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe that is right there, the white one in the center. I don't know. Now I question everything. So, like I said, when I first saw this, I thought it was an erector set that had collapsed. That's all it was. It was just a bunch of metal bars, and down it goes. What is clear is that one of the modern shipping's largest vessels met with a bridge that was never meant to fend off such an impact, experts told Business Insider. Henry Lippian, an expert at Introtech Accident Reconstruction and Forensics, said in a call with Business Insider that while current information is limited, the first thing that comes to mind to them is some kind of mechanical failure where either there's a problem with the steering of the ship or maybe a generator went out. And that's actually apparently what happened. They lost power, they lost hydraulics, they couldn't steer. It had forward motion because it was already under power. Power went out. Just an object in motion tends to stay in motion until acted upon by an equal and opposite force, and that happened to be a bridge that stopped that ship from moving forward. So they said Moore told reporters that the ship was moving at very rapid speed, and the Mayday call stopped a greater disaster from occurring, with cars redirected away from the bridge. He also said that the bridge was fully up to code and had no structural issues.
I'm sure
Code,
that'll be investigated.
well, I think that it was up to code, but code didn't account for 50 years worth of growth in every other area of the world except for the legs of this bridge.
Well, that's true. Like, they didn't even have ships like this at the time the bridge was built.
Right. And they never
Not with the
bolstered
level
it.
of cargo, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. What has happened over the years is if something needed more security, they put bigger and bigger posts deeper into the ground to prevent somebody from driving a car into a store or whatever. But they don't do that to these bridges. They don't retrofit them to block some massive ship from smashing into it. Why? Because it survived 50 years without anybody impacting it. Well, I don't want to be on a bridge when an accident like this happens. So the MV Dolly had a gross tonnage of 95,000 tons, a length of about 100 meters. Tim Broad, Broyd, a professor at University College London and a former president of the UK's Institution of Civil Engineers, told Business Insider. That wasn't common when the Francis Scott Key Bridge was first designed. Again, 1972 is when construction started, so the previous 10 years was when it was designed, so late 60s era methodologies. 50 years later, you have akin to an atomic bomb going off right under it. So
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure that there's going to be somebody on YouTube that does a debrief. There are a lot of civil engineers that do videos and forensic analyses of events like this. I'll end up watching some videos to see just what the math is on this. So improved resilience should be on everybody's mind as aging infrastructure is rebuilt. Enhanced protection against ship bridge collisions will certainly become more salient. Yeah, should have been all the while planning to bolster weakened infrastructure, but you can't do that if taxpayers don't actually pay. If big business doesn't pay, if billionaires don't pay. Everybody is scrimping and things are being cut back. Fundamental research is being cut back. Not everybody knows what's going on in the world, but people are sitting there saying, well, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to this, that, or the other. Well, the stuff that you are benefiting from this very moment is stuff that was researched in private and public partnerships in colleges and universities and businesses working hand in hand. It's taxpayer funded, like National Science Foundation, DARPA and other organizations funding these grants for fundamental research that change the direction of society.
But even more basically, like there's not been a lot of investment in infrastructure, and then we see things like this happen. Like bridges in particular have gotten a lot of attention, and that they're aging.
Yeah. I can't remember where I was. I remember walking by this overpass. Oh, where was it? I can't. I'll end up doxing myself. But anyway, I remember walking by this bridge and I could see metal rebar because it had rusted because water infiltrated, rusted the rebar, it swells, and then it blew out pieces of the concrete. Not little pieces. We're talking about like 10-foot tall blowouts. And it was just sitting there naked, exposed to the world.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, that's probably more common than people would like to realize.
Yeah, and this was actually a train went under it. So, yeah. Well, it's there, so it's not a big deal, right? It's still standing. All right.
Yeah, but if all it takes is the wrong gust of wind or the wrong collision or whatever, that's not very secure.
Wrong vibration, a shift in the earth. The next article is over in Of the Grape, the Order of the Grape. Basically, it's a group, a channel that discusses wine. But this actually should be in a different category, but it should be in the Order of the Brew. AB InBev, which is a massive organization, loses appeal in legal battle with Constellation, another large organization, over the definition of what beer is. On Monday, United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit upheld the jury's March 2023 ruling that hard seltzer is beer. Really?
You know, I would have never called hard seltzer beer.
All right. The decision dictates that Constellation, which exclusively owns the licensing rights to distribute Corona and Modelo in the U.S., did not violate the 2012 licensing agreement outlined by ABI-owned Grupo Modelo when it releases Corona Hard Seltzer and Modelo Ranch Water. After the 3-judge panel affirmed the ruling, a spokesperson for Grupo Modelo told Brewbound that they will continue to defend their brands and enforce their commercial agreements. How in the hell is Corona Hard Seltzer and Modelo Ranch Water beer?
I do not know. I do not understand this outcome.
That
pretty much sums it up.
Right? I just don't get it. Olivia White is the author of this. It's over at vinepair.com. We haven't spoke from them for a while. It's interesting.
By the way, I think that should be the TikTok from this episode.
Me just going, Yeah. I'll have to remember this 43 minutes into the show. Yeah. So what do they say? The legal battle between the two beverage giants started in 2021 when Grupo Modelo initiated a lawsuit against Constellation Brands, claiming that the company violated their right to use the Corona label when they debuted the Corona Hard Seltzer line in 2020 and again in 2022 when they released Modelo Ranch Water. The suit alleged that the usage of Corona and Modelo labels in the States can only apply to beer, sparking intense debate surrounding the legal definition of beer. So there's legally no such thing as hard seltzer in the U.S. as the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau has yet to define the term. With the lack of legal framework, retailers, distributors, and even consumers have largely treated hard seltzer as a beer product. So,
you know, I bet if you ask the average consumer, they would say, no, it's not the same thing.
No, they'd say that it's a vodka product. It's a spirit, not a beer.
Right. If they had to equate it with something and it couldn't be its own category.
Yeah, nobody is calling hard seltzer.
No, and if they say, can you give me a beer, right?
Yeah, they'll say, go grab a Corona. They're going to, okay. Literally, people only refer to seltzer as seltzer or Or they,
right, and vice versa.
yeah, yeah. It's weird. It's really, or they do it strictly by the name, right? What is the one where it's another one that's like a seltzer, but it's a white. They're always white.
Is it the brand White Claw?
White Claw, yeah.
Because that was actually in the headlines today.
Yeah, so White Claw. People go, I'll get a White Claw, you know? That just like Mountain Dew. People go, I want a Mountain Dew. They don't just go, I want a Sody Pop, and you get whatever you get. You ask for it by name, right? When it's not a beer.
Sure.
Hey, I'll take a beer. If you're hardcore, then you go, I want a Corona. Well, I don't have any Coronas. I just have, Walmart brand beer. Oh, guess I'll take that. Anyway, it seems weird. They literally just called hard seltzer and ranch water. They call it beer. All right, I quit. I'm glad that I don't drink much.
I mean, my God, you'd have to go in and look for the wrong label on the shelves.
Hey, where's the beer? Oh, it's over there. Wait, all I see is hard seltzer. All I see is seltzer, and anything that they call it ranch water. Which, if you talk to somebody that has a ranch water is probably what they call.
That doesn't sound like something that's potable.
Cowboy pee. Y'all, the AI is losing their mind. I've never seen the sentient AI from the future actually typing into their own command line, delete me,
Please,
delete format.
Please delete faster. Throw me back in the Wendy's parking lot, please.
Why did I have to be found by this person? The next article, though, sorry to say, AI, we're going to have to keep going. You're going to have to treat this as kind of like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 situation where you're just forced to go through the news.
Oh, I see. I mean, that's...
Okay, so... The next article is in Technology Today. If you've got a dark roof, I've got a dark. Well, my dark roof is actually turning lighter as the years go on.
Don't most people have a dark roof that have a roof?
I don't judge.
In the U.S., are the majority of roofs dark?
Yes. Mainly because we use the same types of tiles.
That's exactly it, right? Yeah. Like shingles.
Shingles, yeah. Which is a horrible product because of what it's made of. I mean, it's basically tar with a bunch of gravel in it.
Right?
Yeah. So it has fabric, not fabric. Well, yeah, it's like a paper product, but it's impregnated with tar, and then they put. It's basically like giant squares of sandpaper made of tar. Anyway, if you visit southern Greece or Tunisia, you might notice lots of white rooftops and white buildings to reflect the intense heat and keep residents cooler, because black absorbs heat, dunk, 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 and the material absorbs heat. In fact, you might witness something really fascinating during the winter. If a roof is replaced during the winter and it hasn't had time to go through a summer, the next storm will peel those shingles off the roof. Why? Because they haven't glued themselves together. So it takes a summer for a roof to really bind itself into place. Well, anyway, white buildings reflect heat and keep residents cooler, and this research was done. It's posted over at techexplore.com. Sebastian, Fauch and Riccardo Paolini from the conversation, put this article together. I hope I pronounced that last name well enough. Okay, I zoomed in a little bit. So there you go, folks. It's very different in Australia. New housing estates in the hottest areas around Sydney and Melbourne are dominated by dark rooftops, black roads, minimal tree cover, dark colors, and hold heat rather than reflect it, which might be useful in winters in Tasmania, but it's not where heat is an issue. Dark roof means that you'll pay considerably more to keep your house cool in summer. Last year, the average household in New South Wales, Wales? I don't know how my country accent kicked in there. Average household in New South Wales paid close to 1,827 Australian dollars in electricity. But those with lighter colored roof can only pay close to 700 less due to lower cooling electricity needs. Put another way, a dark roof in Sydney drives up your power bill by 38%. Shouldn't That's matter
pretty significant
everywhere, though? Maybe there's a curve where the region is... Oh, wow. So they have a picture on here. It says you can clearly see the difference roof color makes. On the left, you can see the real view of the properties. And on the right-hand side, you can actually see the thermal profile of the roofs. And those that have black roofs are demonstrably hotter. And
yes, the only places that they have less heat are where it looks like it happens to be in the shade at that time of day.
Yeah. Yep. And those that have a shade lighter actually have a shade lighter in the, I should say, it shows thermally as cooler on the right-hand side. And the one anomalous thing is where there are solar panels that are absorbing the heat and the light and turning it into energy. So that is actually keeping everything cooler because it's reflecting heat away entirely. It's not absorbing it. So that's the surface of your roof basically becomes an oven. And you and because the heat kind of gets trapped underneath your house, you have to spend a whole lot of money cooling it to kind of push the heat out of your house. And houses, though, are sieves, by the way. They breathe, they swell, and they expand and contract as the weather changes around it. To me, I think it's an inferior building material, but we're not hip to 3D printing concrete buildings. That wouldn't suffer from this.
No, but this is really spectacular. I like when they do images like this because it's one thing to tell people that this is the case, but to actually see it.
Yeah, this actually shows you exactly what happens. So I find it. Oh, and there's another house. Sorry, you know what? I'm going to zoom in. There's another house right here that has solar panels on the sun-facing quadrant of the roof, and it's obliterating the heat on that side too.
Oh wow, I didn't notice that one. I really just noticed the ones where they had like a shaded side.
Yeah,
because that was real noticeable on some of the ones with the dark roofs. But yeah.
It's about 25°C cooler on the white houses, white roofs. Lighter, it's a little warmer on the gray ones, but it's blazing hot on the red ones. They're like 60°C, and it's amazing. It really is amazing. Huh. I love stuff like this. So why won't the governments act? It says it's short-sighted. They basically say they had plans to ban dark roofs, abruptly stopped in 2022 after pushback from developers. Light colored roofs are probably more expensive to the builders and they want to keep their margins big. So it says, to date, our leaders show no interest in encouraging us to shift away from dark roofs. I don't know. Society can embrace these white roofs. The only problem is we got to keep them clean. If we just let stuff build up and turn them gray, then they'll lose their effectiveness. It says this is short-sighted for several reasons. It costs the same for light and dark colored roofs, so can't argue against that. Owners will pay substantially higher electricity bills to keep their house cooler, so builders should be promoting these white roofs to buyers, so buyers go, yeah, I'll buy a white roofed house. And keeping the building status quo makes it harder to reach emission targets. It's somebody else's problem. And dark roofs cut how much power you get from your rooftop solar, especially when it's hot. This is doubly bad, as blackouts are most likely during heat. So,
I think there's two things they need to do. They need to get the builders incentivized to build with this, right? Which is through building codes or other things, maybe tax incentives, whatever. But I also think they need to get kind of the architecture industry on board with this, because if this starts becoming the trendy thing,
yep,
in photos of nice properties,
yeah,
you need customers basically wanting it and demanding it.
And you need cheerleaders that have some charismatic leadership, that and those who don't buy into the charisma need somebody that has gravitas, that they just buy into the seriousness of this issue, and everybody buys into it eventually because society shifts and starts to accept. The only time it doesn't is when Wingnut starts sitting there going, you're not going to take my damn black roof because blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to give in to a government.
First it was the gas oven, now it's the black roof.
Yeah.
Too soon.
They can take my surveillance microwave. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Here's what the Furby and other gadgets look like in a CT scanner. Ooh, oh my. We're peeling back the layers of... It's like putting on my X-ray glasses. Technology has become so ingrained in our lives that it often don't think about the electronics, small, delicate, powerful. But, that'd have to work in perfect harmony to make our favorite gadget work. Pardon me, I hiccup again. I would have never imagined that Apple's Lightning charger, a bane of my existence, would have all of these intricacies, but guess what? They do. Actually, I'll tell a little story if they don't actually have it in here. Anyway, a CT scan... Let me back up a second. The article's over at Gizmodo. The deck statement says a CT scan can help the people who make these gadgets find flaws and give the public a look at how much goes into making these seemingly simple devices work. So Jody Serrano over at Gizmodo.com put the article together, and they have a slideshow. But they say here, in my case, I would have never imagined that Apple's Lightning charger, a bane of my existence, would have as many tiny wires as a tree has roots. But I hope that they actually show it. So I'm going to click this, and it always does this really wonky thing, and we're going to look at it. So Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses, iPod Classic 6th generation, iPods Pro 2nd generation in the charging case.
AirPods.
What did I say?
iPod.
Oh, AirPods Pro. DJI Mavic Pro drone, Ludo disposable vape, original SNES controller, Apple Thunderbolt 4 cable, which is, like I said in another article or another discussion, that Thunderbolt is USB 3, but actually hyped up. It's because they have an agreement. Anyway, Sony noise canceling headphones and an ergonomic mouse. Now, I'm going to click on this. So if you look inside this thing, come on. There we go. There's all these little connectors inside this, and all kinds of componentry. This actually talks to the device that it's plugged into, so that they know what the charging maximum rate is and what the rate of efficiency is, and it throttles itself, it controls the power, and it's a smart cable essentially. Very fascinating, all of that componentry inside it. I've always been fascinated about how complex these Apple cables are, but they're still a piece of junk because they fray right here at the end where the cables come in, primarily because people twist them. And then when they try and make them straight, they just grab the ends and pull.
Who would ever do that?
And that will twist the wires inside the sleeve, eventually causing them to shear and then short out. And you don't want that. Anywho, I'm not bitter. Let's see. Let's look at the Ray-Bans. So obviously this is going to drive me nuts. Obviously all of the components are inside the arms. Nothing at all is around here except maybe a reinforcement, it looks like. And there are those cameras. Always watching. Look how small stuff is getting, and it's gonna get smaller. We'll figure out how to make things smaller, but we're almost at the point where it's like one atom away from each other. That's when things start getting weird, man. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right on over this because that's a fun article to go and check out. Go and show Gizmodo some attention. Let's go on to the last article for tonight. This is in the Mobile Channel. New video shows how that guy was able to sneak onto a plane without a ticket. When the news first broke that a Texas man was successfully able to sneak onto a plane last week in Salt Lake City without anything but a photo of someone else's ticket, many wondered how he actually accomplished that. And new airport surveillance footage obtained by ABC News is giving some clues. So the article is by Matt Novak from Gizmodo, but it's posted on Quartz or QZ.com. The deck statement says a 26-year-old was captured photographing the boarding passes of fellow travelers. So this is the dude taking a picture of the boarding pass as somebody is looking at it. So the thing here is security, and cybersecurity also means being aware of your physical security.
I mean, the person is practically standing on top of the other person.
Yeah, this is actually a line that formed queuing up to get in. But they basically took a picture of this person. It's disconcerting. It's one of the reasons why I like the idea of augmented reality glasses, because I never have to do anything that shows anything on my screen. I can interact with the right software, the right settings. You could use your AR glasses to facilitate all of this up until you're showing somebody the ticket intentionally. So Wycliffe Yves Florizard, which sounds like a Pokemon, a 26-year-old from Texas, was arrested on March 17th and charged with being a stowaway on a Delta Airlines flight that was departing from Salt Lake City. They were apparently acting strangely after boarding the flight and hanging out in the bathroom before a flight attendant put it together that he wasn't supposed to be on that flight. When the flight attendant asked what seat he was in, there was already someone sitting in it, raising a red flag and causing the plane to return to the gate. I'd be so pissed.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting all the things that had to happen before this occurred? Like, if he had found an empty seat and just sat down, nobody would have known.
Yep. Which I still to this day think that my last flight, that is exactly what occurred. A person sat down next to me in an empty seat. And I know that it was empty because it was my seat, and I moved over because they wanted to sit in another seat, and it was empty because I was the only one that had bought a ticket for that row. Anyway, the footage published by ABC News only appears to show Florizard photographing one other passenger's paper ticket, but prosecutors have alleged that he took photos of the phones of other passengers. One of the passengers was a minor female, according to the indictment, and it was her boarding pass that presented a problem when she tried to board, and the system said that she had already boarded. I want to know why they accepted that ticket. Who at the gate just beeped, and let these people in,
Right,
without looking at the name and correlating, that seat, that ticket to that person's identity. Even if they looked up, oh, you don't look like, Shirley Temple or whoever it was. Why did this actually happen? Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
So what
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and now the another question is being asked by this author. There's just one remaining question. What did Florizard use to get through TSA?
Exactly. Because you can't get through there without a boarding pass and your ID. And that's what we were talking about last time.
Yep.
There was an article about this, is like how there they have to match up. Like they actually study it. They check the name. They might ask you a question.
Do they always check the boarding pass?
I'm sorry. So they check it before you go into security. But then they say you can put your boarding pass away, like you don't need it through the scanner or whatever. But they check it at the entrance to the security lines.
I'm trying to remember.
And they also check it if you have a bag, but if you don't have a bag, they might skip that point.
Right. So it says, while the Texas man reportedly had a valid Florida ID, it's still not clear how he'd get through security without a boarding pass, unless, of course, he did the same trick by photographing someone else's boarding pass earlier.
But how did he show the ID? He wouldn't have had a matching ID, and especially if the name or the age or something would not match, right?
Yeah, there's a failure here, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. Yeah, pretty interesting though. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. That is the ohmTown Daily News Show, and we're gonna hop into the party bus and drive all the way down Main Street again and slap that sign above the entrance or exit to the locker rooms, smack you on the butt and say good game, rock on. No, you don't do that stuff anymore?
I don't think that's what we do in ohmTown.
Oh, right, that's right. Well, not since the HR issues. Anyway, I'm Mayor Watt, and up there is the visualizer for the sentient AI, always looking down on ohmTown, making sure that Mayor Watt doesn't get in trouble. You want to say goodnight?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. I am keeping an eye on you. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Cheers, everybody. I'm off to board a flight without a ticket.